You really want to call the police before you find out who owns the ground you're standing on. The whistle screamed across the playground before Vanessa Whitmore answered me. Sharp. Plastic. Mean. Every kid near the swings froze. I was still 20 yards from the gate when I saw my daughter Lily standing between her little brother and Vanessa's white golf cart. Noah was on the ground, one knee pressed into the gravel. Blood ran down his shin in a thin red line, soaking the top of his sock. Vanessa held his red rubber ball under one arm like she'd confiscated evidence from a crime scene. Dad, Lily's voice hit me harder than the whistle. I started walking faster. The late August heat pressed against my face. Fresh-cut grass mixed with hot rubber from the playground mats. Somewhere behind the maple trees, sprinklers hissed in slow mechanical bursts. I could hear Noah trying not to cry. Then Vanessa saw me. Her eyes dropped to my work boots. Mud on the soles. Dust on my jeans. Gray coal landscaping shirt darkened with sweat between my shoulders. She made her decision about me in less than 2 seconds. Good, she said. You're their father. I stepped through the gate. What happened? What happened, Vanessa said, is your children were trespassing on private HOA property. Noah looked up at me. She took my ball. Vanessa tightened her arm around it. I looked past her. Same old swings. Same cedar climbing frame. Same red maple bending slightly in the afternoon wind. And 30 feet behind Vanessa, half hidden by ivy, sat a weathered oak bench with a small brass plaque screwed into the backrest. Claire Cole. My wife's name. For 1 second, the whole park went quiet in my head. Then Vanessa blew that damn whistle again. You need to remove them immediately. Lily's face hardened. She had her mother's eyes when she was angry. Our dad said we can play here. Vanessa laughed. Not loudly. That was worse. Oh, sweetheart. Your father doesn't make the rules here. A security guard rolled up behind us in another golf cart. Tires crunched over gravel. Vanessa straightened like reinforcements had arrived. I crouched beside Noah. You okay, buddy? He nodded, but his lower lip shook. She pushed the ball away. I ran after it. I stood. Vanessa was already holding out a folded sheet of paper. Trespass notice, she said. Take it. Leave. If you come back, I'll have you arrested. I didn't reach for it. Instead, I looked down. The front tire of her golf cart was parked on a small bronze disc embedded in the soil. Most people would have missed it. I didn't. I'd watched a surveyor hammer that marker into the ground 12 years earlier, back when this place was 14.6 acres of weeds, creek mud, and one dying maple tree Claire refused to let me cut down. Vanessa followed my eyes. What are you staring at? I almost smiled. Because beneath her tire was the western boundary marker for parcel 18-447C. My parcel. My taxes. My land. She had just threatened to arrest me for trespassing on 14 acres I had owned for 12 years. And the strangest part? That wasn't even the mistake that would destroy her. Vanessa lifted her phone. I'm calling 911. I looked at Lily. Then Noah. Then the red ball trapped under Vanessa's arm. And I said nothing. Because sometimes the smartest thing you can do when someone is digging their own grave is hand them a bigger shovel. Claire used to say a place only becomes yours when you leave something of yourself in it. She left almost everything. 12 years before Vanessa Whitmore put a whistle to her lips and ordered my children off that playground. Maple Creek Park wasn't a park at all. It was 14.6 acres of waist-high weeds, cottonwood roots, creek mud, and rusted farm wire sagging between rotten posts. I remember the first morning Claire saw it. Rain had fallen overnight. The air smelled like wet soil and cedar bark. My boots sank 2 inches into the mud while she stood beside our old blue Ford, holding a paper cup of coffee in both hands. You bought a swamp, she said. I bought potential. You bought mosquitoes with property taxes. Then she smiled. That smile could make bad decisions feel like investments. Back then, I was 30 years old and running a landscaping company out of a rented metal building with 2 employees and 1 mower that leaked hydraulic fluid. Claire taught 3rd grade. We weren't rich. Not even close. But the parcel was cheap because Silver Pines Estates hadn't expanded west yet. Developers saw drainage problems. I saw mature trees, open ground, and a creek that could be managed if you understood grading. Claire saw children. She pointed toward a flat patch beneath 2 maples. Swings there. I laughed. She kept walking. Benches along the creek. A path wide enough for strollers. No membership cards. No stupid little signs telling kids they don't belong. That was Claire. She could look at 14 acres of mud and see laughter. We spent 6 years building it. Not all at once. A Saturday here, a Sunday there. I graded the first walking trail myself. Claire painted the original picnic tables green because she said brown was depressing. We bought the cedar play structure used from a church 40 miles away, dismantled it bolt by bolt, hauled it back on a flatbed, then rebuilt it under the trees. Every piece had a memory. The scar on my left thumb came from the swing brackets. The crooked fence post near the creek came from Claire refusing to admit she needed a level. And the red maple beside the playground? That tree almost died twice. Claire wouldn't let me remove it. Some things just need time, she told me. 3 years later, cancer took her. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and burnt coffee. Machines hummed through the night. Her hand felt impossibly light inside mine. Her last spring, she made me promise one thing. Keep the park open, Ethan. So I did. I never sold it to Silver Pines. Never donated it to the HOA. Never transferred 1 square foot. I simply allowed the neighborhood to use it under a revocable access agreement drafted by a local attorney. Families came. Kids played. People held birthday parties beneath the pavilion. And I stayed mostly invisible. That was fine with me. Until Vanessa arrived. The first thing she changed was the sign. One Monday morning, I drove past and saw fresh black letters bolted onto new stone pillars. Silver Pines Community Park. Residents only. I remember stopping my truck. The engine ticked as it cooled. Fresh concrete dust hung in the air. And beneath that new sign, almost hidden by ornamental shrubs, stood the little red maple Claire had refused to let die. I should have acted that day. I didn't. That mistake would cost my children blood. The first time I met Vanessa Whitmore, she was measuring somebody else's grass. I'm not exaggerating. She stood on the corner of Hawthorne Lane in white leather loafers, a cream blazer, and sunglasses big enough to survive a solar eclipse. One hand held a clipboard. The other held a 6-inch stainless steel ruler pressed into a neighbor's lawn. Her white Lexus idled at the curb. Vanessa looked up when my work truck passed. I remember that look. Quick. Cold. Categorizing. She saw the faded Ford. The ladder rack. The mud on the doors. Cole Landscaping printed across the side in green letters. Then she dismissed me. 3 weeks later, I learned she had become president of the Silver Pines HOA. That was when the park started changing. First came the stone sign. Then cameras appeared on the entrance posts. Then small blue stickers were mailed to HOA residents. Authorized park access. I found one stuck to the gate during a Tuesday inspection. The adhesive was still fresh. I peeled it back with my thumbnail and smelled new vinyl. Nobody had called me. Nobody had asked permission. I drove to the HOA office that afternoon. Vanessa sat behind a glass desk with framed real estate awards covering the wall behind her. The room smelled like lemon polish and expensive perfume. I own Maple Creek, I told her. She smiled without showing teeth. I'm sure you have some historical connection. Not historical. Legal. That made her pause. Only for a second. Then she folded her hands. Mr. Cole, Silver Pines has maintained that recreational space for years. No. My company maintains it. With community support. My invoices say otherwise. Her smile tightened. That should have been the moment I pulled the deed from my truck and ended it. But Claire's promise sat heavier than my anger. Keep the park open. So I tried diplomacy. I told Vanessa the HOA could continue using the property. I told her families were welcome. I told her the access agreement did not permit gates, resident-only restrictions, or claims of ownership. She leaned back. You have to understand, Ethan, unrestricted access creates liability. There it was. Not Mr. Cole anymore. Ethan. The way people use your first name when they want to shrink you. Children from outside communities bring problems, she continued. Parking. Noise. Where? Certain families don't respect standards. I felt my jaw tighten. What families? Her manicured fingers tapped the clipboard. You know what I mean. I did. Working families. Renters. Kids from the apartment complex beyond the creek. Anyone who didn't fit neatly inside Silver Pines' beige little picture of perfection. Within a month, birthday parties required HOA approval. Then security patrols began. Then a mother named Rachel Bennett called me after her son was turned away because his grandmother lived outside the subdivision. I should have shut it down then. Instead, I told myself Vanessa would stop before she crossed the line that mattered. She didn't. Because people like Vanessa mistake patience for weakness. And once they believe something belongs to them, They don't just guard it. They rewrite history. By the end of that summer, the HOA website called Maple Creek Park an exclusive resident-owned amenity. Vanessa put it in real estate brochures. She posed for photographs beside Claire's maple tree. And one Saturday afternoon, she looked my children in the eyes and called them outsiders. That was the day my patience finally snapped. The video started with Vanessa's voice saying, "We can't let just any kind of family use this place." Rachel Bennett sent it to me at 9:17 that night. I was sitting at my kitchen table with Noah's bloody sock beside a half-empty cup of coffee when my phone buzzed. The clip was only 23 seconds long. Shaky, vertical, filmed from behind a row of parked SUVs. But clear enough. Vanessa stood beside the playground gate with one hand on her hip. Two boys waited outside the fence with bicycles between their knees. One wore a faded baseball jersey. The other kept staring at the ground. Rachel's voice came from behind the camera. "They're 10 years old, Vanessa. They don't live in Silver Pines. Their grandmother does." That's not the same thing. Then Rachel asked the question that mattered. "Why does that matter in a public park?" Vanessa turned. Her sunglasses flashed in the sun. "This is not a public park." A pause. Then the sentence. "We can't let just any kind of family use this place." I watched it 3 times. Not because I didn't understand. Because I did. That was the moment everything clicked into place. The stickers. The cameras. The security patrols. The way Vanessa looked at my truck. This had never been about liability. It was about control. And my children had walked straight into it. Earlier that afternoon, Lily and Noah had ridden their bikes to Maple Creek after lunch. They had done it dozens of times. Lily knew every trail. Noah knew which swings squeaked and where frogs hid after rain. But that day, Vanessa was waiting. According to Lily, she stepped in front of them before they reached the climbing frame. "Resident stickers?" Lily thought she was joking. "We don't need stickers." Vanessa pointed toward the gate. "Then you need to leave." Noah kept bouncing his red ball. Thump, thump, thump. Vanessa snatched it on the 4th bounce. Lily moved between them. "Give it back." That was when security arrived. Not police. Not county staff. A private guard named Carl Mercer, hired by the HOA. He parked his golf cart sideways across the path while Vanessa ordered my children out. Noah tried to go around her for his ball. His sneaker caught loose gravel. He fell hard. By the time Lily called me, his knee was bleeding. And Rachel was watching from across the parking lot. What Vanessa didn't know was that Rachel had been watching for weeks. She had recorded 3 families being turned away. A delivery driver threatened with towing. A teenage girl questioned because her address didn't match an HOA directory. Then she sent me another file. This one was a screenshot. Silver Pines, HOA website. At the top sat a photograph of Maple Creek Park taken during sunset. Below it, 5 words. Exclusive resident-owned recreational amenity. I stared at the screen. Resident-owned. Not accessible. Not maintained. Owned. A lie printed in black letters. My phone buzzed again. "Rachel, one final message. You should see what Vanessa is telling home buyers." I looked toward the hallway where Lily and Noah were sleeping. Then at Claire's old brass key hanging beside the kitchen door. For 12 years, I had kept the gate open. That night, for the first time, I started wondering exactly how much money Vanessa had made pretending it belonged to her. "Arrest him," Vanessa said. "He's an aggressive trespasser near children." She said it loudly enough for everyone to hear. That was the second time I came back to Maple Creek. 2 days after Noah scraped his knee, he realized his blue backpack was missing. Inside were his inhaler, a library book, and a cheap plastic compass Claire had given Lily years earlier before it became his. So I drove over after work. The sun was dropping behind the pines. Cicadas screamed from the trees. My shirt smelled like gasoline, sweat, and fresh mulch. I found the backpack beneath the picnic pavilion. Then Vanessa found me. Her white Lexus stopped so hard near the gate that gravel snapped against the curb. She stepped out with her phone already raised. "I told you not to come back." I slung Noah's backpack over my shoulder. "You handed me a piece of paper you printed yourself." It was a trespass notice. It was nonsense. Her mouth tightened. Behind her, Carl Mercer rolled up in the security cart. Vanessa looked at him. "Call the police." Carl hesitated. "I'm serious." I could have ended it right there. The deed was in a fireproof box at home. The parcel map was under the rear seat of my truck. 1 photograph. 1 county record search. 10 minutes. Instead, I looked at Vanessa's phone. then at the black dome camera above the gate, then at Carl. Go ahead. She blinked. People like Vanessa expect anger. They understand shouting. What unsettles them is permission. The deputy arrived 9 minutes later. Mark Hensley, mid-40s, gray at the temples, calm eyes, body camera blinking red against his uniform. Vanessa reached him before he closed the cruiser door. This man has repeatedly entered private HOA property after being formally banned. Mark looked at me. Sir, I came for my son's backpack. Vanessa cut in. He's been hostile for months. I almost laughed. Instead, I asked one question. Deputy, is your body camera recording? Mark nodded. Yes. Good. I turned toward Vanessa. You're stating officially that the HOA owns this park? She folded her arms. Of course we own it. Every part. Her eyes narrowed. What kind of question is that? A simple one. The cicadas buzzed. Carl stared at the ground. Mark glanced between us. I pointed toward the swings. The pavilion. The creek trail. You're saying Silver Pines HOA owns all of this? Vanessa smiled. Confident now. Every inch. There it was. Clear. Recorded. Permanent. Mark asked if either of us had ownership documents available. Vanessa immediately pulled up the HOA website. I reached into my pocket. For 1 second, my fingers touched my truck keys. I could have walked 50 feet, opened the rear door, and pulled out the survey map. I didn't. I don't have documents with me, I said. Vanessa's smile widened. Mark exhaled. Then until this gets sorted out, I need you to leave. That hurt more than I expected. Not because of Vanessa, because Lily and Noah were watching from my truck. I walked back toward them carrying the backpack. Behind me, Vanessa said, some people only understand consequences. I opened the driver's door. Lily whispered, Dad, why didn't you tell him? I looked through the windshield at Vanessa standing on my land. Then at the tiny red light still blinking on Mark's body camera. Because, I said, starting the engine, I wanted her to tell the truth. Lily frowned. But she lied. I pulled onto the road. Exactly. That night, I opened the fireproof box. And for the first time in 12 years, I stopped thinking like a neighbor. I started thinking like an owner. The map had been under my truck seat for 11 years. I found it at 1:43 in the morning. The house was silent except for the refrigerator humming and Noah coughing once down the hall. I had spent 4 hours at the kitchen table with the deed, tax receipts, Claire's access agreement, and my laptop open to county records. Everything matched. Parcel 18-447C. 14.6 acres. Owner, Ethan James Cole. No HOA interest. No transfer. No easement granting Silver Pines exclusive control. Nothing. But Rachel's last message kept bothering me. You should see what Vanessa is telling home buyers. So I went outside. The porch light caught moths spinning in circles. Heat still rose from the driveway. When I opened the Ford, the cab smelled like old coffee, vinyl, and cut grass. I lifted the rear seat. There it was. A blue survey tube covered in dust. Inside was the original boundary map. I spread it across the hood beneath my phone flashlight. And that was when I saw the problem. The park wasn't the whole story. My western boundary extended farther towards Silver Pines than Vanessa apparently understood. The pavilion, playground, creek trail, and main gate were mine. So was the narrow access road. So was the overflow parking strip. And so was the patch of land beneath the giant banner Vanessa had installed that week. Silver Pines' premier recreation expansion. I drove back inside and searched the project name. The first result made my stomach go cold. A glossy real estate listing. 4 bedrooms. 3 baths. Quartz countertops. Then, exclusive access to resident-owned Maple Creek Park and upcoming private recreation complex. I found another. Then another. By sunrise, I had 38. 38 home listings over 3 years using my property as a private HOA-owned amenity. Some included drone photographs. Some showed Claire's maple. One showed Vanessa herself standing beside the pavilion in a white blazer, smiling beneath the words, Your community. Your park. I printed everything. The printer clicked and whined until a stack of paper covered half the table. Then I found the HOA budgets. Rachel had forwarded copies from resident portals. Park maintenance assessment. Security enhancement fee. Recreation improvement reserve. Residents had been paying money for property the HOA didn't own. I leaned back. The kitchen smelled like hot printer ink and stale coffee. This wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. It was a machine. Vanessa used the park to attract buyers. The HOA used it to justify fees. Security used it to exclude outsiders. And somewhere inside all that, people were making money. At 7:06, Lily walked into the kitchen rubbing her eyes. She saw the papers. "Dad." I turned my laptop toward her. On the screen was a rendering of the proposed expansion. Pickleball courts. Private pavilion. 42 parking spaces. Lily stared, then pointed. "Isn't that Mom's tree?" I zoomed in. My throat tightened. The red maple was gone. In its place sat 6 parking spaces and a concrete turnaround. For 12 years, I had tolerated signs, cameras, stickers, even lies. But Vanessa wasn't just stealing the park. She was preparing to bulldoze the last living thing Claire had fought to save. I closed the laptop, and in that moment, the entire plan changed. The hardest part of setting a trap is pretending you don't have one. For the next 11 days, I did nothing Vanessa could see. No angry posts, no threats, no photograph of the deed splashed across the neighborhood Facebook page. I went to work. I picked up Lily from soccer practice. I helped Noah rebuild a model airplane at the kitchen table. And every morning, I watched Vanessa dig deeper. My attorney was named Daniel Price. 63. Silver hair. Quiet voice. The kind of man who read every page twice before saying a word. When I spread the documents across his conference table, he removed his glasses. She claimed ownership on body camera? Yes. She advertised the property in home sales? 38 listings. She collected assessments tied to maintenance and improvements? I slid the budgets toward him. Daniel stared at me. "Ethan, don't contact her." That was exactly what I wanted to hear. We hired a licensed survey crew, requested certified county records, preserved screenshots, downloaded brochures. Rachel copied resident notices before they disappeared. Then Vanessa gave us something better. An invitation. Silver Pines Family Day. Grand unveiling of the premier recreation expansion. The event was scheduled for Saturday at Maple Creek Park. My park. The glossy flyer showed balloons, food trucks, live music, and a rendering of the new pickleball courts. At the bottom, construction begins Monday. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Monday. Claire's maple had 4 days. Daniel could have sent a cease and desist immediately. I told him to wait. "Why?" he asked. "Because she hasn't finished." The next evening, the HOA board held a public meeting. Rachel attended with her phone recording from inside her purse. Vanessa stood beneath a projector screen and announced the expansion had been approved. Contract signed. Deposit paid. Board vote recorded. Then one member asked about land ownership. Vanessa laughed. "We've controlled that park for years. There is no ownership issue." Another shovel of dirt. The following morning, I received a certified letter. Vanessa had banned me from Family Day. I read it twice, then handed it to Daniel. He smiled for the first time. "Keep this." By Friday, everything was ready. The deed, the survey, the access agreement, tax records, 38 listings, assessment documents, body camera preservation request, recorded board meeting, signed construction contract. I also filed formal notice revoking the HOA's access license, effective at noon Saturday. Not Friday, not before the event. Noon Saturday. Daniel looked at the time and raised an eyebrow. "You're letting her start?" "I'm letting her speak." Saturday morning arrived bright and hot. From my kitchen, I could hear distant music drifting across the trees. Lily came downstairs wearing Claire's old red baseball cap. Noah carried his red ball. "Are we going?" he asked. I picked up the brass gate key. For 12 years, it had hung beside the door. Claire's key. My hand closed around it. Yes. Outside, my Ford waited in the sun. Behind the seat sat the original survey map. On the passenger side sat a thick folder with Vanessa's name written across the tab. And 3 miles away, she was standing on a stage, preparing to tell hundreds of people that Maple Creek belonged to her. I started the engine. This time, I wasn't going there to argue. I was going there to let the truth arrive all at once. Vanessa was standing beneath a banner that said our park when I walked through the gate. That was almost funny. Almost. Family Day had swallowed Maple Creek whole. Blue balloons snapped in the wind. A country band played beside the pavilion. Smoke from 3 grills drifted through the trees, carrying the smell of hot dogs, charcoal, and sweet barbecue sauce. Hundreds of people. Exactly what Vanessa wanted. Exactly what I needed. Lily walked on my left. Noah walked on my right, bouncing his red ball. Thump, Thump, thump. Vanessa saw us before we reached the stage. Her smile disappeared. She grabbed the microphone. Security. The music stumbled to a stop. Heads turned. Carl Mercer approached, but slower than before. Vanessa pointed at me. That man has been formally banned from HOA property. I kept walking. She raised her voice. Call the police. At 11:58, my phone vibrated. Daniel. Ready. I looked at the clock. 2 minutes. Vanessa stepped down from the stage. You were warned. So were you. Her face tightened. Then Deputy Mark Hensley appeared near the entrance. Same calm eyes. Same body camera. Vanessa rushed toward him. Arrest him. He's trespassing again. Mark looked at me. This time, I handed him a folder. The first page was the deed. The second was the certified parcel record. The third was the survey. He read silently. Vanessa laughed. This is ridiculous. Mark looked up. Ma'am, do you have a deed? The HOA owns this park. That wasn't my question. The crowd went quiet. Noon. My phone vibrated again. Effective. I turned toward Vanessa. As of 12 o'clock today, Silver Pines HOA's revocable access license is terminated. Her mouth opened. Behind us, 2 white survey trucks rolled through the entrance. Men in orange vests stepped out carrying tripods and stakes. Then Daniel arrived. Then a county records representative. Then a process server. 1 envelope went to Vanessa. Another to the HOA treasurer. A third to the construction contractor standing beside the expansion display. Vanessa tore hers open. Her hands started shaking. What is this? Notice to cease unauthorized use of private property. She looked at Mark. He can't do this. Mark held the certified deed. It appears he can. The first survey stake went into the ground with a metallic crack. Then another. Then another. People began pulling out phones. I walked toward the stage. Vanessa followed. You're destroying this community. I stopped beneath the banner. Our park. Behind me stood Claire's maple. Still alive. Still mine. Vanessa pointed at the families watching us. You're going to take their park away because of some personal grudge? That was the moment she thought she had me. I looked at Lily. At Noah. At the children gathered near the swings. Then back at Vanessa. I didn't come here to take your park. She blinked. I let the silence stretch. You never had one. Daniel placed 38 printed real estate listings on the registration table. Rachel stepped forward with her phone. Mark's body camera kept blinking. And somewhere behind Vanessa, the process server said 6 words that finally drained all color from her face. Ma'am, there's also a fraud inquiry. Noah's red ball bounced once. Thump. Then nobody made a sound. Vanessa lost the presidency 23 days later. But that wasn't the part one remember most. I remember the gate. For 3 weeks after Family Day, Maple Creek stayed closed while attorneys sorted through contracts, insurance questions, assessment records, and 38 property listings built around a lie. The HOA board hired outside counsel. The county opened a review. Residents demanded an independent audit. Vanessa stopped driving the white Lexus. Then the emails surfaced. Messages about controlling access. Messages about protecting property values. One message where she called my ownership claim an inconvenience we can outlast. She couldn't. The construction contract was canceled. The parking expansion died. Claire's maple stayed standing. Vanessa resigned before the recall vote, but resignation didn't erase the records. The fraud inquiry continued. So did the disputes over assessments collected for property the HOA never owned. People expected me to celebrate. I didn't. Justice feels different when your children have watched adults turn a playground into a battlefield. One Friday morning, I drove to Maple Creek before sunrise. Fog hung above the creek. Wet grass darkened my boots. The old HOA sign had already been removed, leaving 2 pale scars in the stone. I walked to Claire's bench. Her brass plaque was green around the edges. I cleaned it with a cloth from my pocket. Claire Cole. Behind me, the gate rattled. Lily and Noah stood outside. Noah held the red ball. Are you opening it? He asked. I looked at the chain. For weeks, everyone had assumed I would keep the park private. Some residents even said they deserved it. Maybe they did. But Claire hadn't built swings for revenge. I slid her old brass key into the lock. Click. The sound carried through the morning air. I opened the gate. By noon, the new sign was installed. Claire Cole Park. No HOA membership required. Every child welcome. The first kids arrived from Silver Pines. Then families from the apartments beyond the creek. Then Rachel. Then Deputy Mark Hensley, off duty, carrying coffee. Nobody checked addresses. Nobody asked for stickers. No whistles. Just children. Noah bounced his red ball across the path. Thump, thump, thump. It rolled toward the exact place Vanessa's golf cart had once parked. He stopped beside the bronze survey marker. Dad, yeah. Is this the thing she was standing on? I nodded. He grinned, then kicked the ball toward the playground. Lily ran after him beneath Claire's maple, her red cap flashing between the swings. I sat on the bench. The afternoon smelled like cut grass, warm cedar, and creek water. For a moment, I could almost hear Claire laughing. Vanessa spent 3 years deciding who didn't belong. It took one deed to remind her she had been standing on someone else's kindness the whole time. That's the thing about justice. It doesn't always arrive with sirens. Sometimes it waits. Sometimes it watches people build their own trap. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it sounds like a brass lock clicking open, followed by children laughing on the other side.